Hi everybody, it's Patricia Berry and welcome to my garden. This is a little tiny garden spot that I have outside of the place that I'm living right now. And the reason that I'm talking to you from the garden is because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the approach that I found really foundational to my fundraising and to my relationship building for organizations. And a lot of that started with the garden for me. I am, as I often say, a socialized data wonk. I like systems. I like thinking about how relationships are built, not in isolation, but how they work together. And it was a place that I found very satisfying when I came into fundraising. I lived for 25 years and did most of my adult fundraising life in New York City, and started using some of these relationship ideas without really knowing what I was doing or really thinking of them as a system. It was just kind of my natural approach. How do things work together, and how does that person fit into this organization? How do we partner together? And 10 years ago, when I came out to the University of Michigan to run their relationship-driven fundraising program, their stewardship program, and also take on part of their campaign with their faculty and staff campaign, as well as doing fundraising for the library, I got introduced in a really lovely way to permaculture. And permaculture is a system of thinking that often gets played out in the garden. And I had my first garden that I had ever had, and I was doing this work that I loved, which is thinking about fundraising and thinking about how both people and organizations can really come together in partnership rather than transactional. That we can really create that kind of conversation that results in transformation. So while I was learning how to garden with my very first house and my very first garden, I encountered this system of thinking called permaculture. So it's based off 3 core foundation values, and it was created by some gentlemen, I think back in the 70s. I can give you the full history, but based on generations and generations of agricultural and ecosystem knowledge, right? And just distilling it down into how to think about it in a systematic way for people who don't necessarily know how to garden or have really encountered ecosystems before. So based around 3 really core values: care for the earth, care for people, and fair share. And having that as kind of the value system, it then permaculture presents us with 12 guidelines for how to think about ecosystems. And this was like a light bulb moment for me. I realized that the things that I had naturally been drawn to in fundraising, and the work that I really wanted to do, that deep work of partnership, so that we didn't treat a donor or even a fundraising program as something separate from the entire organization. This 12 guidelines, 12 ways of thinking about ecosystem, I began to actually intentionally apply them to the work that I was doing. And we found through the work of doing some research in analytics and on the ground research, as well as fundraising, both in running a faculty and staff campaign of 175 million, as well as fundraising for a smaller section of the University of Michigan in library science. We saw a 30 to 40% increase in revenue each year without working harder, because we stopped thinking about fundraising as something over there. We started thinking about it as fundraising is something that all of us do. Not that everybody asks for money in an organization, but it's part of what we do. The money that we bring in, the donors that we bring in, is just like in an ecosystem gonna have an effect. And how we take care of the soil, take care of the foundations, take care of our mission, take care of the people that we serve, that has an effect on the soil as well. So I began to intentionally, both myself and with the people that I was working with, lean into these 12 values, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in various writings. We're going to break them all down. But I just found it really, really expanding for me. It really made me think about fundraising in a different way. And again, what I always say to people, anybody can be a fundraiser if you do it with your heart and if you do it really transparently. You don't need to have some sort of innate special selling skills. Once you sell something, that's when your organization becomes transactional. When you lean into the work of relationships by using deep adherence to your values, your organizational values and mission, as well as a series of 12 principles, you can be exactly the fundraiser you need to be and that your organization needs from you. So I thank you for coming along for the ride with me. We're going to talk a lot more about permaculture as well as other things, but I'm going to be really delighted to share all this work with you.